Hey, welcome back to Shane Flint Outdoors. I'm Shane Flint, your host slash fisherman, and this is a little bit different edition. I'm not on the lake fishing today. Instead, I thought, I've put out 4 videos. I would talk a little bit about techniques and tactics that I use in those first 4 videos. There's plenty more videos to come of how I caught fish and the procedures I used, the lures that I used, and my thought process going through using the lures that I did. Time of year, most of the videos that you've seen so far were pre-spawn, spawn bass. We're moving into a new time of year. It's the last weekend in May. It's Memorial Day today, and it's getting to the, it's post-spawn bass fishing for a few weeks before we start getting into the height of the heat of summer, which will change our fishing techniques for sure. So what I want to do is just talk a little bit about those first 4 videos and some of the things that I threw and how I caught fish, and also answer a few questions that came out through some direct messaging. I didn't get much comments on the YouTube page other than good videos and things of that nature, but I did get some direct messaging from Facebook. And you can, if you like Shane Flint Outdoors, please subscribe, share, like, and we're on Facebook and on YouTube, and please share with your friends if you like. The more subscribers, the better. It's not, I'm doing this because I like to share information and just have a little bit of fun. It's kind of a hobby. I'm not doing it to try to make money or anything like that. It's just helping share fishing here in Northern Virginia, North Central Virginia. I love to fish, and I just love to share and share my thoughts about how to catch fish. So first, let's go ahead and start talking about the first few videos. The first few videos that I put up, I was pre-spawn fishing. And I was out on Able Lake, and one of the things that I like to use a lot during pre-spawn fishing is a spinnerbait. And I do real well, and here's the actual spinnerbait that I was using. I broke one off. You've seen the video. One of them broke. The arm broke on the spinnerbait, but this is an identical one. This is a 1/2 ounce spinnerbait, and I start fishing this in March. So as soon as the water gets up, starts warming up in the high 40s, the low 50s, I start throwing a spinnerbait, and I slow roll a spinnerbait. But the key to catching bass on a spinnerbait is you need a little bit of wind action. You need some ripples on the water to be successful with the spinnerbait. And it's a really good, when the bass are biting, it's a really good spawn, pre-spawn, even a little bit of post-spawn bait to catch bass on. But the reason I go with the 1/2 ounce size is the bass are a little bit deeper earlier in the year, and I slow the reel down and I pump it a little bit and get it down to 6 to 8 feet of water, because the bass will come up. They're still holding off on some of those main lake points before they move it into the shallows to start spawning, so they're moving back. So I fish it slow, and then as the fish start staging, looking for places to spawn, I start burning this spinnerbait everywhere, which you've seen on the videos, and I do real well, and I've caught a lot of big bass on a spinnerbait in my time. It is my comfort bait. This is like my go-to when bass are really biting. This is what I like to go to, especially spring, fall. It's not really that great in the summer when fish are down deep, but if you get one of those days where the weather's right, the moon phase is right, the bass are up shallow, I'll throw a spinnerbait. But this is what I caught most of the fish on in the videos, including a nice 5-pounder, and that was my 3rd 5-pounder of the year. I only got one on video, but I got some earlier in the year. But this has been the bait, and one of the questions that came up in a private message: can you catch anything else other on a spinnerbait? And yes, I can. It just so happened the videos that I had, that's where I caught all my fish on. I did catch, I think on video I have a stick bait catch. And the next video got coming up in a few weeks, you'll see I did catch some stuff on it other than a spinnerbait. I did catch 1 or 2 on a spinnerbait, but yeah, it's a go-to bait for me. But yes, I catch a lot of other fish on different things. Just so happened that this is my go-to bait, and caught a lot of fish on. But I do keep one pole with the spinnerbait. Now I'm going to change this spinnerbait for post spawn, and I'll go to a smaller profile, probably a double willow, a different color, kind of more of a shaddish color for summertime. and I'll fish that through fall. This is kind of my basic color I go back to in spring. So that's a little bit about the spinnerbait. It's a great all-around bait. Again, caught a lot of bass on it, and you'll start to see me stop fishing the spinnerbait in the future episodes because it kind of goes by the wayside comes summer. But one thing I will tell you, there's a really good bait that I will switch up to. This is called the Johnson Silver Minnow. And it's not silver, this is the gold version. You get it in different colors. And I'm going to change this white tail out to a chartreuse tail actually right now while I'm talking to you, if I have the right, I do. Because I think the chartreuse tail goes a little bit better with the gold. But I really like this bait around lily pads and weed lines. It's not completely weedless, but it's pretty weedless. It wobbles on the top, it wobbles on the top of the water. And it's a really good action bait when you have bass up around the weed lines or lily pads. It's just a really good bait. It wobbles really good, a lot of good action. You can use it in the spring. I like to use it in the spring, summer, even in the fall sometimes if the bass are up shallow. It's semi-weedless. I'm just checking my line. Got a couple little nicks in there. I might retie that. But it's a good bait. It's a good all-around bait. It's overlooked a lot. It's been around for a long time. I fished it as a kid. And I really like that. I really like this bait. You'll see me throwing it on video, I'm sure. As a matter of fact, I know you will, because I fished it in the latest video. Didn't catch anything on it, but I did fish it some. So another lure that you didn't see, you may see me throwing a little bit when I was out fishing in these first videos, and I talked about it, but I didn't catch a lot of fish on it. I fished the heck out of it, but I didn't catch much fish on it. Just the opportunity. A couple times the fish just didn't bite on this, but it's a really great bait. It's a really great bait year-round, and that's the Senko. And I fish the Senko quite a bit. You can use the zoom version or the yup version. I actually fish all versions of it. This is a Gary Yamamoto. This is a 4-inch. I think this is called Goby. And you can see I have this rig wacky style. I really like wacky style on this. I fish this wacky style Texas rig. Every type of rig you can think, I throw the Senko. It's such a versatile plastic bait. It's hard to get around not using it. But this is wacky style. You can see I got an O-ring in the middle of my hook around the O-ring. That saves a lot of, you don't go through as many of these Senkos because you don't rip the Senko apart when you get bites. So I love this. You'll see in a video in a few weeks, a video that's coming up. I filmed on Friday night. Did really well on this. Caught quite a few bass, and I caught, believe it or not, a big snakehead, which you'll see on video. I'm just going through that video. I think the sound got messed up on it, but we're still going to watch. We'll still put the video out one way or the other because it was a good fishing day. But yeah, the Senko's a great lure. It's very versatile. I like to throw this wacky style on this is a St. Croix 7'2" rod here, and this is a 14-pound Yozuri top knot fluorocarbon copolymer. I really like this on a spinning rod. I really enjoy it. This is a medium heavy rig. I have a medium heavy spinning rod in the boat, and I carry 2 medium light spinning rods in the boat, and those are for my drop shot and Ned rig. But that's a lure that I use a lot. You'll see me using that a lot during the remainder of the fishing season, actually. And one other lure you'll see in the next fishing video come up that I really enjoy is the Zoom Fluke. I fished the heck out of this Zoom Fluke, and this is a fluke on a weighted version, a weighted hook. I'm sorry, a weighted hook. You can see the weight is on the bottom. It's an 1/8 ounce weight. I can get this down 6, 8, 10 feet, but man, does it have a lot of good erratic action. And when bass are active and they're feeding, they just tear this thing up. I fished this out in Hunting Run, I guess it's been about 3 weeks ago, a month ago, and I was trying to see how well we could catch fish on it. I caught 4 or 5. It was a tough day. Actually was out trying to see if the bass were on beds, and fooled me, and they weren't. So I went to this Zoom Fluke and caught a few. But it's a really good bait. It's very erratic. You can fish it different ways. One way that I fished it last summer that was really effective is I didn't fish it this way. I drop shotted it and just put the hook through the head, and I caught quite a few bass drop shotting a Zoom fluke last year. Really good bait all around, but the action on this is phenomenal. It's pretty weedless, so you can throw it up around trees, branches. You can get some depth in it with this weighted hook, and you'll see it dart all around. It's a really good, versatile bait. You know, you think, well, you got the wacky worm Senko. This is a little bit different action, and you can fish it really, really fast or really, really slow. It's just a different profile, but I really like it when I'm out there around weeds and sticks and things of that nature. When you wacky worm the Senko, you can't be throwing it too much around weeds and sticks. You can get the weedless hooks, things of that nature, but this is a pretty good weedless bait where you don't get hung up on sticks and weeds and things of that nature. Really good bait. I really enjoy throwing this. You'll see in upcoming episodes that I caught a few fish on this, and you'll see probably through the year I'll catch quite a few fish on the Zoom fluke. It's a really good, versatile bait. And again, you can fish it shallow, you can fish it deep. There's all kinds of different colors. My favorite color on the lakes up here is, depending on which lake I'm on, it depends on the color of the water. I'm finding out that the watercolor in the lakes make a huge difference in time of year. So in really clear water, I like this color. It's called the Watermelon Red Magic. It's a really good color on Able Lake, and what I caught them on up at Hunting Run Reservoir. I'm sorry, Hunting Run Reservoir. Actually, and that water's really, really, really clear, and I was surprised I did so well on this color. Was this? It's called lemon shad color. So, and you know, Able Lake has some stain to the water. Hunting Run is just crystal clear water. That's the two lakes that I've got on video. I'm going to be fishing Nye too, which has color in the water as well. But there's lots of different colors in the Zoom fluke, but those are the two that I've did very well on. And then the third bait that I did fish and showed on the videos was a Texas rig watermelon seed lizard. Unfortunately, I did do real well in one fishing trip. There was a bunch of, right when the spawn was going on, the males get on the nest and they guard the nest. And I had a fishing trip out there and I had some technical difficulties. I'm sorry I didn't get it out, but I caught probably 10 to 12 bass on that lizard. And I would throw it up there on the nest, just like I've done in the past. There was no females, it was all males, so they're only, you know, 12, 14, 15-inch bass, which is fun fishing. But yeah, I did real well on one fishing trip, and again, just had some technical difficulty with the GoPro. I'm not a professional videographer, but I'm learning as we go. Also, this last fishing trip, looks like the sound got messed up, which we'll have to work that for the future as well. But yeah, I did real well on that lizard. But one thing now that we're getting into the post spawn, coming into summer, especially for the next few weeks while those bass are starting to fatten up after they've been on the, you know, done finished their spawn up, I really like to go to these creature baits because, you know, the bass are kind of moving back out to main lake points and places where they traditionally kind of, I'll say, is their homes, if you will, ledges, trees that, you know, in that 8 to 15 foot water table. You know, they'll move up into the shallows when they feed, but when they're setting and not real active, they'll be at that 8 to 15 foot range this time of year. And I like to throw a creature bait. And this is Jean LaRue. I think this is called the Biffle Bug or the Hog Collar, one of the two. And the last video, I caught a few fish on this the other day. It'll be out in a video. But I like to fish this. It's a good, and I like the profile of these creature baits. And there's all kinds of them out there. There's the Guggen baits, but I prefer Jean LaRue. It's just my personal preference. And I throw this on, believe it or not, a monofilament. This is 14-pound Trilene XT in green, and I on a 1/4 ounce tungsten weight. Gets down there pretty deep quickly. And I really like the creature bait because it's a large profile, and I think large profile is better when the bass, for those bigger bass, when they're hungry. they want to fill their belly up, they reach out there and get one of these creature baits. And I fished it on a 3/0 or a 4/0 hook, just depending on which size that I'm looking at. But you'll see this is a good bait. I fished a little bit of it in early spring. Didn't do so well, but you know, post spawn, this is a great bait. And I think one of the baits that gets overlooked a lot. If you notice, I rarely throw a crankbait. I have 2 boxes of crankbaits down in my tackle box right there. 2 Plano storage bins of crankbaits. But I don't throw a lot of crankbaits. I do throw jerkbait quite a bit, but especially now in the summer, you may catch a few on a crankbait. It's just not my confidence bait. I'll throw it around a little bit. But really, I'd rather, the summertime comes on and the plastics become the dominant thing to fish. One thing that I will be throwing, which you'll see on a more of a hard bait, is topwater time too as well. And I love to fish topwater. And this year you'll probably see me fish the buzzbait. I actually bought this KVD Toad Buzz that I'll probably be using in a future video. And also, I love the Popar. The old Rebel Popar is a great topwater bait, and hopefully I get some bites on that and we get it on video, because topwater fishing is awesome. It's fun, it's exciting, and if you can get it on video, it's even better. I can share that excitement with everybody out there. Well, that's kind of the rundown of the baits that I used in the first four videos, and some of the videos that are to come. There's all kinds of ways to catch fish, right? Everybody has their own technique. These are my personal preferences. You'll see that, as soon as summer comes on, I'll be changing down to the Ned rig and to more of a finesse fishing, just like a lot of bass fishermen are today. You got to adjust your game. You got to adjust your technique for the season, for the weather, for all the elements that are out there that affect fishing. Even from an aspect of pressure. When I was out on Hunting Run Reservoir the other day, 31 boats. It's not a giant lake. It actually got to the point where I couldn't comfortably find a piece of real estate to fish on there, and I called it quits for the day. So you got to adjust your techniques, and I will throughout the year, throughout the fishing season. And fishing season, what is that? That's about 11 months out of the year. Basically, I take about December through mid-January, late January is about the only time I'm not fishing. Come February, get a little bit of warm air in around, and I'll be out there fishing. Now I'm gonna start looking at other species as well. I love to crappie fish. I love to eat crappie too. So that's one thing that you'll see that I'll start targeting soon. Is there'll probably be an episode of trying to catch big slab crappie, as well as catfish. I like to catfish as well. We'll see. That's a little different type of video to shoot, but I'll figure it out, and we'll get out there and catch some different species of fish. But thanks for tuning in. Again, if you like the channel, please subscribe, share, like, comment. I appreciate anything that comes out. Questions. If you want to poke fun at me or ask questions, whatever, it's all. I'll address anything that you'd like. But until the next video. Good luck fishing and tight lines.